Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Mitchell, creator of the poor man's RPG card game Hezzop. If you have no idea what that is, be sure to watch my original video, which I'll provide a link for below. That'll explain a little bit about the rules. Basically what Hezzop is an RPG card game that can be played with regular playing cards and some dice. What I'm talking about in this video are the Pro Rules. They are merely an expansion of the original rules, so they don't replace the old rules, they add to them, to add a little extra length and strategy to a game that most of us have been playing over and over again. The only difference in the Pro Rules right now as far as setup goes is you need 2 decks of playing cards instead of sharing a deck between you and your partner. So if you have a pair of dice and 2 decks, you're ready to go. Let's start playing Hezzop Pro Rules. So here we are. As you can see, everything's set up pretty much the same way. As a refresher, here are your character cards. You get 4 each. And you get 7 number cards in your hand at the beginning of the game. Turns work the same way. Everything works pretty much the same way as it did last time. The biggest difference is each player gets his or her own deck, and we share a pair of dice. Now, the first addition I wanted to address is leveling. The reason I want to mention it first is it is completely optional. You can use the rest of the rules mentioned in this video, minus leveling, and you'll still have a great play experience. Leveling just adds a little extra length and depth to the game if you want it to go a little bit longer and you have, say, some extra time between classes you want to kill. The way leveling works is in the old rules, I used to be able just to add a number card to my character, and that would count as a move during my turn. Well, we complicated things a little bit here. Now, if I want to add a number card to one of my characters, I've got to initiate what we call a leveling battle. This is different from a random battle. A leveling battle, say I want to initiate a leveling battle, I send in my character, and I draw a character card from my own deck to battle. Now, instead of like a random battle where this card would end up with the max amount of number cards attached to him, in a leveling battle, this card matches my level. So this queen only has 1 number card attached to her. He only gets 1 number card attached to him. Now we can battle. Now I have a choice here, risk versus reward. If I decide to let my opponent roll first for this king, if I win, since I let him roll first, I get to add 2 number cards to her if I win. Now, if I lose, I would have to discard 2 number cards attached to her. If I decide to roll first instead and say, no, I'm going to roll first, if I win, I only get to attach 1 number card to her because I decided to roll first. And if I lose, I only have to discard 1 number card attached to her. So I'm going to be a little bit sly here. Since she already only has 1 number card attached to her, there's really no sense in me not letting my opponent go first, because I'm not risking anything. So I can say, well, I only have 1 card attached to her. It's not like I'm risking 2 cards. There you go, dude. Go ahead and roll first. So we battle it out. If I lose, I have to discard the number card attached to her. If I win, I get to attach the amount of number cards I risked when initiating this battle, depending on who rolled first. Now, leveling battles, unlike random battles, do not end your turn, so you can do 2 leveling battles in 1 turn. Leveling up through challenging is pretty straightforward. I challenge my opponent, or he challenges me. We send in our champions, we duke it out. Whoever wins automatically gets to add 2 number cards to their character, regardless. So it's not like the leveling battle where I decide if you roll first, I get to add 2, or if I roll first, I only get to add 1. In this one, it doesn't matter. Whoever challenges, if you're the one who wins, you get to add 2 cards to the winner. And the loser, of course, has to discard their character and their number cards attached to them. Applying resistances allows you to limit your opponent's options of numbers to be rolled against you in battle. So say I want to make my king here immune to clubs. What I do is I look for one club card in my hand. I only have one, so that makes it easy. And I say I'm going to apply a club's resistance to my king. I have to roll this 8. I didn't, but say I did roll an 8. I get to now attach this card horizontally to my character. Now he is resistant to clubs. What this means is if my opponent ever attacks with a club's character, it doesn't matter how many cards he has attached to his character now, he can only roll an 8 to defeat me. This has essentially become my Achilles heel. It doesn't make me immune completely to his club's characters, but it limits the numbers that can be rolled to the one attached to my card. So it gives me a little bit of an advantage going into battle. You can only apply one resistance card to each of your characters, so you can't make your king resistant to every single suit in the deck. You can only have one resistance per card. One of the new ways to get rid of those pesky extra cards in your hand is by casting spells. You can cast black magic or white magic spells. Black magic spells allow you to inflict status ailments on your opponent, while white magic spells cure those status ailments and/or prevents your opponent from challenging you. To cast a spell, you simply select as many cards of the same suit as you want, tell your opponent you're casting a spell, and then if you roll one of those numbers, you've successfully casted that spell. So now let's go into what those different spells do. Black magic spells allow you to inflict status ailments on your opponent. You can only have one status ailment per character. Those ailments are blind or poison. The first one I'm going to talk about is blind. To use a blind spell, you need spades. So you select as many of the spades in your hand as you like. You can use one, you can use all of them in your hand. I only have 2, so I'm going to drop these 2. I tell my opponent, hey, I'm going to be casting a blind spell. And then I choose the character I'm going to try and cast that spell on. I'm going to choose this ace. I roll. If I get one of those numbers, I did not, but if I did get one of those numbers, I now discard these cards. You will discard it regardless of whether the spell was successful or not. And now let's pretend I rolled one of those numbers and he's blind. I turn this ace at a diagonal slant, and now that indicates that he's blinded. A blind spell cuts this card's accuracy in half. So when he challenges me, he can only use one of those 2 number cards. And he gets to choose which number card he wants to use, but he can only use half of the number cards attached to that ace at any given time. Now, you may say, well, what if there's an odd number of cards attached to that ace? So say he had, 5 cards attached to that ace. With a blind spell, if he's the one challenging me, because he was the brave one, he gets to use 3 out of the 5 cards attached to that ace. Now say I'm the one who challenged him and forced him into battle. Well, since I'm the challenger, he's only allowed to use 2 of those 5 cards. So on an odd number, if you're blinded and you're the challenger, you get to use more cards. And if you're the challenged, you get to use less cards. And that's only if you have an odd number of cards attached to your character. The second black magic spell I'm going to talk about is one of my favorites. It's poison. To use a poison spell, you use clubs. I only have 1 club in my hand right now, but say I had a bunch of them, I would put as many clubs down at once and say, I'm going to cast a poison spell. I'm going to pick on this ace one more time. Ha ha ha. So I'm going to try and cast a poison spell on this ace. If I roll one of the numbers, I didn't, again, not very lucky today, but say I did roll an 8, I discard this card, he is now poisoned. So for blind, you did a diagonal slant. For poison, they just go completely horizontal. What this means for the ace is every 2 of his turns, he has to discard one number card attached to this character. And it'll slowly drain him of number cards every 2 turns. To use white magic spells, you use red cards. That would be hearts or diamonds. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Cure spell. For a Cure spell, think hearts for healing. Say this is his hand now. And he says, hey, I want to fix this poison problem I've got going on here. He would take all the hearts in his hand, or as many as he liked, lay them down and say, I'm casting a Cure spell on my ace. If he rolls one of these numbers, he didn't get his numbers either. He's not as lucky as me either. Say he did roll one of these numbers. He would discard the cards he used to roll, and then this guy would be good as new, and he'd be cured. So that's how you do a Cure spell. The next white magic spell I'm going to talk about is the Guard spell. This one is not to be underestimated. I've seen plenty of people win based on casting this spell. To cast a Guard spell, you need diamonds. I only have one, which is unfortunate, but say I didn't need a diamond card, I'd just say, hey, I'm going to cast a Guard spell. I lay down as many diamonds as I have, just that 9, and then I try to get it. I did not. But say I rolled a 9. I've now casted a Guard spell. What that means is for 3 turns, my opponent cannot challenge me. I'm completely protected for 3 turns. But there's more. If I choose to challenge my opponent during that 3-turn period, I always get to roll first. I always get to roll first no matter what, while the Guard spell is in effect for those 3 turns, which is awesome. Again, I have seen players win or lose, depending on whether or not they casted a Guard spell. So, those are the Hezzop Pro Rules. I hope you enjoy them. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to list them below. I'll do my best to respond to them in a timely manner. Thanks to everyone who's kept Hezzop alive out there. If you have any more ideas or rule additions that you like to add, go ahead and post those below as well. I always enjoy seeing the different play styles people come up with, strategies, and just flat out new rules. So go ahead and keep those coming. Hopefully it won't be another 5 years before I post a video like this, but in case it is, keep on Hezzopping out there, and thanks for the good times and keeping this game alive.